and Robbo.
Streaming across the globe, Ben Norris, Rob McKnight and David Robinson.
Ben, Rob and Robbo. News, reviews, entertainment too. It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo. Ben, Rob and Robbo. Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
Welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Here's Rob McKnight.
Hello there and welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. I am the person named Rob McKnight. I'm joined by two handsome devils, Ben Norris and David Robinson. They make me look terribly average. Hello, boys.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Yes,
you look very dapper today.
Oh, thank you very much. I always wonder what Robbo thinks of my clothes. I always find out when we're 1 minute into the show.
Yeah, I was wondering whether or not you got dressed with the light on.
Off to a good start. Sorry, Ben, what did you say?
Well, normally you turn up and you've got like different colours. So you've got like a green and a purple, or you know, a blue and a red, or I don't know, any other colours that don't.
I like contrast. What can I say? And I'm not going to apologise for it.
Why start now?
And look, I've got my Ben Robbo mug, which you can get for $29.95. Just email rob@tvblackbox.com.au.
And just quickly, if we sell one of those mugs, what's the division of costs or, profits there? Just so Ben and I know.
It's all mine.
All right, see ya. Have a good show. Bye.
By the way, the mugs aren't really for sale. I was just making that up.
But
look, there is a lot
remember
to
when we
talk
sold
about.
Studio 10 mics? Oh, I don't have mine.
Oh, yes, we did. We did sell Studio 10 mugs, but that's a whole other story. We'll talk about that another time because there is so much to get through today. We have Xavier from Big Brother. He was eliminated from Big Brother. We have Poe from Masterchef coming on the show. We're going to meet Poe as she was eliminated last night. If that's not enough, there's so much happening in the world of TV. Pauline Hanson has just been dumped from the Today Show. This is breaking news. We will be talking about that with Mulk and the reasons why. A lot of controversy went down this morning. We will bring you up to speed. And there's all this stuff happening with coronavirus. So let's begin with that. And the coronavirus crisis continues in Victoria to deepen. More than 3,000 residents have been locked down in public housing towers in Melbourne. Today, Premier Dan Andrews closed the borders after announcing there had been 127 new cases overnight. Here's part of that press conference.
From 11:59pm, midnight tomorrow night, the border with New South Wales will be closed. That closure will be enforced on the New South Wales side so as not to be a drain on resources that are very much focused on fighting the virus right now across our state.
The outbreak has led to extraordinary decisions being made by the Andrews government, with apartment blocks being put in total lockdown, as Nine News reports.
A tongue-in-cheek call for help from those struggling to be heard, locked inside with zero notice.
For me to sit here and say people in the community are not upset about this, I'll be lying to you.
Ahmed Dini is one of the 3,000 who woke this morning to find their public housing buildings surrounded by police.
They're testing us. They lock us in.
24 hours after being told no one could leave and no one can enter, some we spoke to still hadn't heard from the health department or received food.
Manatel is doing the trick for me at this moment, but I'm really concerned for parents, single mother parents as well in the community. There's a lot of trauma that's going to come out of this in the next couple of days.
Food bank trucks arrived early at Flemington, backed up by 3,000 meals cooked by Fair Share chefs.
We've got lots of wet meals, casseroles, roast chicken and vegetables.
But boxes to keep kids entertained bizarrely included an air freshener, while residents were less than impressed by supplies that contained Weet-Bix but no milk. Mum Melissa Whelan lives with her autistic son and doesn't have access to her anxiety medication.
I could get a family member to pick it up, but from what I understand, they won't be able to bring it to me.
Nor are Mel's grandmother's carers, who feed her 3 times a day.
She can't prepare them, she can't do them, she needs something microwavable or hot when it comes.
Methadone and alcohol support is being organised for residents who need it, but going outside for some fresh air is too dangerous for now, according to the Premier.
These towers are being treated in a public health response sense, no different to an aged care facility.
For me, really speaking, to be 1 second of of a prison means 100 years.
Shaky first steps in Australia's harshest lockdown yet. Not enough to deter our most vulnerable residents determined to beat the virus.
Our parents have survived war, they have survived civil wars and stuff like that. We can survive 5 days. We will come out stronger as a community, but we want the rest of the country to be with us.
That report from 9 News in Melbourne. Look, after 500 police are stationed across the towers to make sure no one gets in or out. Robbo, we understand drastic measures need to be taken, of course, to fight the virus. Do you think this would happen in a wealthy suburb?
Absolutely not. It just wouldn't happen. This is just another kind of, look, a war on the poor, really. We understand there are a lot of people who are disadvantaged there. There are a lot of people who need, greater support, but the support they're being given is just more police officers. It's outrageous, really. I understand that they need to be locked up, in any suburb. That's fine. I totally get that. But the thing I worry about is if this was in a wealthy suburb, we wouldn't see, 2 police officers at everyone's gate. If the neurosurgeon had to go off and get a bottle of Grange, that would be all right. I really don't think that we'd see the same kind of things with more powerful people in our community. I think it's a really sad indictment of what's happening.
Robbo, what do we do here? There have been 127 cases overnight. You've got no proof.
All I'm saying is that if you're going to do it to poor people and lock them up, you know what we saw? Remember, it was the Aspen case. Remember, so a lot of people came back to Toorak who had gone on their little Aspen trips, and they were not social distancing. They weren't putting themselves in quarantine, and there was no repercussions for that.
How long ago was that?
But these people who... It doesn't matter when it was. It was all about stopping the virus.
We're dealing with 127 cases overnight. It's now past the point of politeness and asking people to do the right thing. We are now at the point where if you don't do the right thing, the police have to make you do the right thing.
Do you think that they would be outside houses in very wealthy suburbs? Do you actually believe that?
They're doing random tests, aren't they?
No. In these towers, there are 500 police officers on every floor. Do you actually believe that in a really wealthy suburb...
Thing, Robbo. People are
the
not
wealthy people aren't doing it either.
I agree, but if they're not doing the right thing, go to their houses and do this. Suburbs are being shut down.
In your heart? In your heart, do you think that in rich suburbs it would happen? It didn't. It didn't happen.
Robbo, can I just quickly say... Robbo, do you have your victim complex on speed dial? Because every single time we come to this war on the poor, you're so quick to say, oh, they wouldn't do that to the rich. Of course they would do that to the rich. If these outbreaks and the statistics that were readily available for the government were there, and we've got commission houses in Richmond, we've got them in Toorak, there's places around here that have the same outbreak and the knowledge and the know-how to shut that down. It's basically a ship on land. So when you think about those cruise ships and you know that those are contaminated, then you're going to shut it down, right, regardless as to whether it's in St Albans or whether it's in Toorak. So I refuse to hear a war on the poor. Give me strength.
I don't think, though, like I said, Rob, you know what? I don't think it matters what time it was, but we did see that when there was the initial breakout of the pandemic, people were coming back from Aspen. It was a very, very big story, and they weren't doing the right thing. It happened on the North Shore of Sydney. It happened in the wealthy suburbs of Melbourne. That's fact. They will not held up to the same kind of rigmarole. They should have been, of course, but they weren't. But they weren't.
We've come a long way since then.
Yeah, we really have.
We've come a long way, and we've learnt a lot of information. Digging up something about something that happened at the start of the movie is not as relevant as what happens at the end of the movie or halfway between. Look, I don't want to have this as like some sort of a personal attack because it's certainly not. But when it comes down to it, what happened with those people coming back into Stonington, the council that they came back into after being in Aspen, was a huge mistake. And we need to own those mistakes and we need to quarantine those mistakes. And what we learned from that previous situation, regardless of wealth or stature or any other piece of information, was that we just need to quarantine these places down. And people don't like being quarantined. People don't like being told what to do. So the precautions are higher. We're making more effort. So there's probably more police. But when you talk about these little houses downstairs that are there, they're just simply there for the testing. That's all we're going to do. We want to make sure these people get well, and we want to make sure that they are quarantined correctly before those doors are opened. And it's as simple as that.
I was going to give you the floor, Robbo. I would just like to add to that whatever has happened in the past, there were 127 cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. It needs to stop. We've seen people trying to change their address in Melbourne because they didn't want to be in one of the hotspots. They've been using family and friends' addresses, and the police and the government are coming down on that. People just don't give a shit about the greater good. And I don't care. I hate totalitarianism. But the fact is, if people aren't going to do the right thing when lives are at risk, then they need to be forced to do that. This is ridiculous. I don't care of your ethnicity. I don't care of how much money you've got. This is a crisis. And if you don't do the right thing, you have to be held accountable. Simple as that. I'll give you the last word, Robbo.
No, I've stated my piece on all of those issues, so we can move on to the next one.
All right. Well, Lisa Wilkinson is getting angry and she's not going to take it anymore. The project presenter hosted a passionate editorial about the apparent lack of cooperation from Prince Andrew in the Jeffrey Epstein case. So far, the Prince has not accepted multiple invitations from US authorities to be interviewed. Here's some of what Lisa Wilkinson had to say last night.
Well, as long as Andrew remains under palace protection, we'll never know. And by any standard, that's simply not good enough. For 68 years, the Queen has demonstrated herself to be someone who chooses duty over family, the greater good over personal interests. Surely, in 2020, for Her Majesty and the royal family to retain any authority and respect, if she believes child sex slavery is a scourge that needs to be eradicated and has any empathy for the dozens of victims of Jeffrey Epstein, then she simply has no option but to compel Andrew to fully cooperate with authorities. To quote former Australian of the Year David Morrison, "The standard you walk past is the standard you accept." Your Majesty, with respect, it's time.
Now, this is the Lisa Wilkinson I remember, Ben. It's good to see her on fine form like this, and she's calling out the Queen. Is that the right way to go?
Absolutely. Look, I think at the end of the day, I was starting to look for the receipts for Channel 10 to return Lisa Wilkinson on her efforts on the project because as far as I'm concerned, I've returned clothes for a lot less. And finally, we get to see her being a journalist, which is what she's paid to do. But not only that, but speak to a particular audience, which I think was brilliant. Now, what I would like to take Channel 10 to task and the producers of that show is when you have a fantastic journalist who has done their research and has a powerful message like that, what is the point in playing the music to Backdraft or some giant emotional movie? We don't need that.
No, it's not a problem.
There is nothing. Look, you will say that because you're an executive producer, and I'm telling you, you've put more beef in your stories than Hungry Jack's has put in their burgers. So I can understand where you're coming from.
Oh, I like
but
that.
what I'm saying is there is clear time, and this is the time when Channel 10 needs to realise that we are looking for factual information. We are in a dire circumstance. This on top of so many other things, Black Lives Matter, what we're going through, COVID. The last thing we need is the music to a trailer for Titanic 2. Like, we don't need it. And that's all I have to say about that one.
Yeah, you've had a couple of cups of coffee this morning, it's obvious. David, I have to say, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because as a member of the royal family, I guess you are protected in some ways. There's a bit of he said, she said going on here because Prince Andrew has said, I'll answer some questions they haven't asked. The US are saying, we have asked and you have said no. So imagine if a member of the royal family did get extradited to the US and actually had to face charges over this. This would be a huge deal.
It would be a massive deal, Robert. I watched a really great documentary, I think, called The House of Windsor on Netflix, and it basically said at the very beginning of episode 1, it's called The Firm. It's yes. Everyone knows that. The firm will survive at any cost. Now, to have him extradited or answer to charges or answer to interviews simply cannot happen. The firm will not allow it. Now, whether the firm can, have that much power or that much pushback in 2020, I'm not too sure. But I would think that all of these things are so deeply, deeply connected All of these powerful people have been photographed with Epstein. I just don't think they're going to let it fall. There are reports that Ghislaine Maxwell will not, roll over and, give over all of these things, all of these details, rather, about people who had been with her. I just don't think you'll see it. Interestingly, though, the Queen is the only person, I guess, almost in the world, possibly, maybe in other royal families, but at least in the UK or in the Commonwealth, she can't be ever prosecuted for any kind of crime, ever. That's just a little rule or a law there that makes it happen. However, that law does not extend to any other member of the family. So what we're going to see here is a lot of strings pulled in the background. I will be shocked, and I'm happy to replay this.
Bus? You just said that the royal family will do whatever it takes to survive. Could you see a scenario where the Queen throws him under the bus? He's done a lot of damage to the royal family. Yeah. Could they actually say, it's like politics, the hint of a whiff and you're out, you have to resign. Could they throw him under the bus?
Well, you're right. It's almost like that she would wish, the Queen, Her Majesty, I know you're watching, thank you, that she would wish that she could come back to. Remember, she called a year, anus horribilis. Something. Yes, because it was so bad. I reckon she wishes that all she had to deal with were affairs and things like that after this thing. Possibly. She did do something really quickly, and we've got to remember this, is that she almost instantly pulled Prince Andrew. He will now no longer be part of any kind of royal engagements. He won't be. Yes. I think his patronage has been removed. So she did that very quickly.
Well, that was straight after that disastrous interview he did, where he went, he did this interview thinking, I'll do an interview, I'll clear it all up. And it left a lot more questions than it started, and basically gave the momentum for people to think there's something going on here and he's hiding something.
And that's what I think. Don't you think that because the Buckingham Palace then, put out a press release like they do and said, this didn't happen. This is absolute rubbish, blah, blah, blah. And then he did that interview where it didn't stand up. So is there not kind of an admission of guilt? Not by the Queen, but just to go, this is smelling to high heaven. He's out.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see because America is actually taking a pretty tough stance with this. So they're not letting it go, which you might think for the purpose of relations that they might do, but they're not letting it go. So this is going to be fascinating to see. And with the arrest of the woman at the centre of all this, a lot of people are saying, will she end up dead just like Epstein? Because she knows where all the bodies are buried, basically. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting if she suddenly takes her own life in jail. Yeah.
Well, Jeffrey Epstein didn't. It was reported that he did, but he had a lot of high-profile friends who wouldn't like all of those little secrets coming out of his what is now being called Orgy Island, which he had in the Caribbean. That's what they call it. No, I'm not being crass.
Wow. No, I know.
That's what they called it. I don't mean to be crass, but that's what they called it. And I think a lot of very powerful people. And I think that's why Epstein got away with it for so long, because he surrounded him with people who he thought would protect him. When it all came tumbling down, we're not going to let him talk, are we? We're not going to let him... There's no chance for him to say it. I know that's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but it's almost like one of those ones where it kind of fits, doesn't it? He's been photographed with, every powerful person, in the past 20 years.
Yeah, but Robbo, can I quickly say, sorry to interrupt, but I just want to say, it's so weird how people keep saying, they had a photograph together. What does a photograph with somebody who has any form of notoriety have to do with any real story? I mean, I know he denied that he ever had a photo with this girl or that he ever knew her, but when it comes down to it, I've had a selfie with Nicole Kidman. Does that mean Nicole Kidman and I are best friends, or
no,
you can loop me into something?
The difference is, and there's a photo out at the moment with this lady and Kevin Spacey sitting on the Queen's throne. So, it's not like he just happened to be at a function and got a photo with her. They're in the palace, so it's a little bit more complicated than the way they're trying to write off.
It's a little damning though to really, and I don't want to give any evidence. I'm not trying to. I want this man to be condemned for what he did. I feel like there's enough evidence that's there to stack up for us to believe that this man is particularly guilty.
Until proven
I want
guilty.
the Queen. Exactly right. But I mean, I just find that these little selfie photos with celebrities to say, oh, okay, picture speaks 1,000 words, where I don't necessarily think that's true, especially when a photo can be taken of a photo of a photo of a photo, and photos can easily be doctored these days. So
but anyway,
I don't necessarily think that's the
celebrity
key.
or something and you get a photo with them. You know, like people get photos with people all the time. It doesn't mean they know each other. It's a very good point.
Ask any of my friends. I'm the biggest star fucker alive. I mean, star, whatever the word is. Oh, sorry. What do you say with that? Moving along. And ask any of my friends. I'm the biggest star than anyone. And I used to get photos with celebrities in my early 20s and tell people that I was friends with them. What a load of baloney, because it wasn't true. I probably met them at the Jam Factory at a premiere that my dad gave me a ticket to. You know, it's very easy to sell a narrative.
Are you trying to tell me you oversell things and hype things up? I don't believe it, sir. I don't believe it.
Don't have a stroke or anything. You know.
All right, let's
I know
move
it's a
on.
shock.
And Australia's longest-serving finance minister has decided to call it quits. In one of the worst-kept secrets in Australian politics, Matthias Cormann will step down at the end of the year. It's long been reported he was no longer in the Prime Minister's inner circle after voting for Peter Dutton in the leadership spill that saw Malcolm Turnbull leave the lodge. Robbo, if you're an elected official, shouldn't you stay the course, or should you be able to drop out just like any other job?
If you need to drop out for an actual reason. So Mike Kelly, we've all seen the Eden Monaro by-election happening in New South Wales over the weekend. Mike Kelly, who was a Labor member, had to pull out because of ill health. That's okay. If, though, what we're seeing here is it's just just another elected official going, I probably could make more money, in the private sector. There were rumours for a long time that he would go into a diplomatic post. He's come out and said, no, he wants to make more money in the private sector. That's okay. But what I feel sorry for are the people who live in his electorate. And I hate this kind of thing. You are not anointed. You are not, God doesn't come down and touch your head and say, please, represent our people. You've been voted in. People liked you for whatever reason. They want you to stay. I think it's outrageous when politicians leave their post halfway through, a period of time with the government before the next election. I think it's outrageous. I think it's rude. I think it's disrespectful, and it's arrogant.
Let me ask you, though, this, Ben. If your heart's not in it, is there any point going on? He's losing his power base. He doesn't have the ear of the Prime Minister. He's been at the top, basically, where he did have the ear of the Prime Minister. Does it get to a point where you're just like, you're not enjoying your job anymore? So do you pull the plug? And should we just think, wouldn't it be better if someone comes along, wins that election, who has the fire in the belly for it?
Yeah, look, I don't want to trivialise anything, but I will. And I was just going to say that with RuPaul's Drag Race, all of a sudden one of the queens, when they realise they're not in on it anymore or they don't think they're going to win, they'll vote themselves off the competition, and then you see all the other drag queens standing around, oh my God, why did she give up? I'm not here to beat someone who's going to give up. I want to fight against the champion. And I'm almost like, what a bullshit narrative. If someone's decided that they can't do the job or they don't want to do it for whatever reason and they want to self-evict, they could do that on RuPaul's and they can do that in politics. Bye.
Okay. And Benjamin, I'm opening the swear jar because there's been a bit too much of that from you today, sir. We need to tone that down, mister, or Uncle Robbie's coming and giving you a firm slap on the bottom. Oh, better not say that. That sounds a little...
No, I heard Amanda went, oh.
I'm putting myself in the inappropriate jar.
Hey, I've sworn twice, so I'll buy 2 of your cups. Is that swearing? What's that? Oh, that's something else.
All right.
All righty.
Now, to my favourite story that has come out this weekend. And in a bizarre move, Kanye West has announced on Twitter that he will be running for president later this year. This comes after a long history of political outspokenness by the rapper. He's publicly backed Donald Trump, wears his Make America Great Again hat, and now it looks like he's taking it one step further. Now, this isn't the first time we've heard of this, though. Back in 2015, he had this to say at the MTV Music Awards.
And yes, as you probably could have guessed by this moment, I have decided in 2020 to run for president.
Elon Musk responded to the tweet saying, backing the rapper, saying, "You have my full support." I've got to say, Robbo, he's already kept one promise. If he's running for 2020 and he said that in 2015, well, then he's first person to keep a promise. He's off to a good start.
I can't. Sorry, I'm trying so hard to get something out of myself here. The only thing I could probably get out of myself is a number 2 for this kind of ridiculous kind of announcement. It is absolute and utter. Sorry, wait. Ben, can you say the word for me? Because you're already in the swear jar. I need you to say ball.
No, we don't need to say. But Robbo, could he do it? He has the money.
Fill in the blanks.
He has the money.
Thank you,
he
Ben.
has the profile. He could absolutely run as an independent. Would he win? I doubt it. But
No, he wouldn't, because at the end of the day, he's not Donald Trump. He doesn't have all of these assets in his back pocket. At the end of the day, Donald Trump got to where he got to because he had a lot of billionaires in his back pocket ready to help him win, and he has a much better ability to mind-boggle people and do the Jungle Book snake stuff that Donald Trump does. Kanye West falls over at the 11th hour, like as in, well, I should say the 9th hour. Like, he never ever gets to do anything. Like, he'll be like, man, I'm going to do this concert. He pulls out of the concert. I'm going to finish writing this album. He pulls out of the album. This man's somebody who will say, I'm going to do something and fall over every day. Week. What I can say is deluded psychos are always going to run for the presidency in America now, because it's been proven to have worked once before. So now we will see celebrities running. And I have to say, I take to task Oprah Winfrey as much as I do Kanye West, because it doesn't matter what likability you are or what kind of a platform you have. Are you suitable to run a country like the United States
Oprah
of America
is.
right now?
Oprah
Come on,
is, absolutely.
That's your, whatever you call it, going off. That's the little boy inside of you that had a sick day and watched her a midday television. Like, I'm telling you, Oprah Winfrey, I love you to pieces, but you can't run the country, and neither can Kanye West. So come on.
Neither can Donald Trump.
But
Donald Trump, after Donald Trump, anyone can have a go. Put Timmy, the 11th grader, in the White House chair. The White House presidency has become such a sideshow and a laughing stock that once upon a time, I would have been horrified that Kanye was running. That now I love it because he has the potential to split Donald Trump's vote. People voting for Kanye are likely to vote for Trump as well, and maybe the young ones, and split that vote. Happy days. It's a sideshow.
But that's what I find weird, because they've had such a bromance, haven't they? So this is what I didn't understand, was that he's going to run against his... Why wouldn't he run as a running mate as the vice president? Obviously, Mike Pence is there. But yeah, I don't
watched the
understand.
Kardashians, have you? You don't watch the Kardashians, because basically the Kardashians are about a family that have no real skill set, except for the fact that they sort of promote themselves in this sort of weird way. They side saddle up against people and steal things from them. And so when I saw Kanye West and Kim Kardashian West in the Oval Office, I didn't see a bond or a bromance or anything being formed. These people dream about reaching levels and heights that other people wouldn't have the gall to say they could do. These people are full of themselves. They are full of themselves.
Great point.
They have now believed that they can make $1 billion out of being nobody. Why can't that? Why wouldn't egotistical maniacs think they could run the country? Come on.
Couldn't agree more.
I think it's a good point. That's a great point. Yep.
Hey, look, you now have a chance to own a true piece of Hollywood legend, as long as you've got $40,000 to spend. The iconic cape that Christopher Reeve wore in the first 3 Superman movies is up for auction. The Man from Krypton's cape has slits in it which allowed Reeve to wear a wire harness in front of green screens. Plus, there are pockets for rods to be inserted to look like he was flying. Robbo, you're a Superman lover. Would you buy this?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't have 40,000, but absolutely. I've been a Superman fan ever since I can remember. I used to dress up as him. I used to do the Clark Kent thing where I'd wear a jacket and then pull it down. I practiced, so many times to be the wonderful man that this is now. If we can just take a listen to this wonderful editing that I did. Hold on. Oh, yeah. That still gives me goosebumps to just see that. That felt good. Yes, I would pay $40,000 for that if I had $40,000. I love Superman. And Christopher Reeve, we've got to say, is the only Superman that's been able to take Superman to the big screen. Every other,
and make it
chance
successful.
they've had. Yes, that's right. They haven't been able to do it. He was a great, great Superman. You know, the movies have aged a little bit, but that's all right, for goodness sake. This is a wonderful man, a wonderful suit, and I wish I could get in it.
When I was younger, we used to put the Superman soundtrack on the record player, pump it through the house, and I used to play with my friend, and one of us would be Superman, running around the house. I was in Year 12. But anyway...
Was that on a gramophone? You said record player, but when he said record player, I thought, is that a gramophone? Is that what he means?
Come on. Hey, I got to say, though, I understand the idea of wanting... I have wanted for the longest time the Doctor Who pinball machine. Now, this was a pinball machine in the 90s. And there was a point when I was probably about 30 or 35 where it was going for $5,000. And I really wanted to buy it. It's now like $10,000, $15,000, and I still want to buy it. It is one of the best designed pinball machines ever, and it's Doctor Who. And I'm going to get that pinball machine one day for my 50th birthday, maybe. Sorry?
Okay, settle down, Pinky in the Brain. I think you've just had a Pinky in the Brain baby. But what I would say is if we could go wide for a second. Can we go wide so we can see Amanda?
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Amanda. Happy birthday for yesterday. But also shut down your bank account and make sure that he can't take any money out unless there's 2 signatures on it. You want 2 signatures. Can I also just, no one asked me.
I've come close so many times, let me tell you. I've come so close.
Well, let's hope that I've just given Amanda some really good advice there to lock down your bank account. But can I just say, I'm with Robbo. I'd love to buy that Superman suit, except for I believe it is like a gift with purchase, because it would also come with divorce papers, because my partner would leave me in a second if I spent $40,000 of our money on a piece of shit. I mean, a cape. Oh my God, I have to buy another mug.
That's ripped.
That's ripped. No.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So much still to come on today's show. We've got Poe from Masterchef. We've got Xavier, who was eliminated from the Big Brother house. And we're talking some big breaking TV news with Malk as we discuss Pauline Hanson has been axed from the Today Show. This only happened in the last hour. We'll show you the controversial comments and talk you why it's happened. And there's so much else happening. In the meantime, let's get some news headlines from the Ticker Newsroom with Aaron Young.
You are watching Ticker. Let's check some of today's top stories. There have been more than 11.3 million coronavirus cases recorded around the world. The global death toll is now past 530,000. There have now been more than 6 million recoveries. Frustrated Australians are sharing eerie photos of empty supermarket shelves following a spike in cases in Victoria. The government announcing 127 cases from yesterday. Now, Coles and Woolworths reintroducing purchasing limits on a number of staple grocery items across its Victorian stores. More than 200 scientists from 30 countries urging the World Health Organization to take more seriously the possibility of the airborne spread of the novel coronavirus. 239 signatories attempt to raise awareness about what they say is growing evidence coronavirus can spread indoors through aerosols that linger in the air. The British PM Boris Johnson says Huawei must meet strict conditions if it wants to be involved in Britain's 5G rollout. The Chinese tech company was previously banned over security fears. And we need to prepare for more cheap fuel. That's the good news. Although crude prices rebounded from coronavirus crisis lows, oil execs and experts are now starting to ask if the industry has crossed the Rubicon of peak demand. Let's have a look at the weather map now for the remainder of the day. A chilly, freezing, yuck start to the day for us in Melbourne. 14 degrees the top today. Sydney 18 degrees, cloudy for Brisbane. Perth, some sunshine, also some showers, and 19 degrees in Adelaide, a top of 15. Let's check the local market, and it has dropped somewhat this morning. The ASX opening at 10 a.m. and heading south, but coming up a little bit, still not liking what it's seeing about the possibility of lockdowns. And now the idea that the states will be shut between Victoria and New South Wales, that border closes. Let's have a look what happened in the US, and the jobs data on Friday saw somewhat of a rebound in stock prices. Some good news for investors. This is the Dow making up after what was a rather difficult week. That is the latest from Ticker. You are up to date. I'm Aaron Young. Now back to you.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Big stories coming out of Victoria at the moment, so I hope you guys are all well. For the moment, lots more coming up on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show, but first, here's Ben.
Yeah, well, speaking of big, last night was Big Brother's fantastic new episode where they dealt with 19. It was going up against The Voice last night for the ratings, and it's getting tighter and tighter as the season comes towards the end. But last night we saw a much-loved, even though Robbo would say not, a much-loved housemate see his demise. Check it out.
With all 6 votes, Xavier, you've been evicted from the Big Brother house. It's time for you to go.
Well, either flying under the radar or flying into some people's dreams. Joining us right now, we have Xavier who is the latest evictee from the Big Brother 2020. Thanks for joining us on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show this afternoon, mate.
Well, thanks for having me, Ben. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm a big fan of yours from back in the day, and it's great to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
Well, it is kind of a surreal experience because, like, I remember meeting Reggie Bird, and with her, I'd seen her on the show and was a big fan, and then she'd seen me on the show and she was a big fan. So this is kind of a surreal experience for me because my partner and I thought you were fantastic on the show. How do you think you went?
Oh, thank you very much for saying that. How did I think I went? I was happy with how I went on the show. You know, I was part of every big play, and I was on the inside know with my group most of the time. And I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed all the fun times, which was good. I had a lot of fun in there.
Well, it definitely looked like you had a lot of fun. A lot of people talking about not seeing enough of Xavier, and I tell you what, we felt like that at our place. How do you think you were portrayed? Do you think that we could have seen more of you?
Because it's such a fast TV show, and they know the key ingredient is drama these days, especially with, like maths and all that sort of stuff. Like drama is the thing. So, with the big personalities and the drama that was happening in the house, some of the other characters sort of got pushed to the side because, I don't know, we're just a bit too lame or wallpaperish or stuff like that. But unfortunately we missed like sort of those character arcs that I saw in the house that unfortunately didn't make the final cut. But that's
well, we saw last night on the TV the way in which Big Brother was handling COVID-19. Can you tell us a little bit about that reaction and how you felt when they broke the news of how serious COVID-19 had become in Australia?
We were just so focused on the game there. We were just like, oh, we got to do this game, whatever with the outside world. But it really started to hit home when they told us like the Olympics was cancelled, footy games were cancelled, and we were like, oh, okay, cool. And then only when you get evicted and you go to an absolute ghost town of a city, that's Sydney, and it's usually thriving and stuff like that, you go, something is not right here. And it was crazy.
Were there any telltale signs that you guys as a house had started to notice that maybe something was happening on the outside?
When you're used to getting filmed 24/7 and those cameras sort of all shut off, you're just going, what's happening? And we had a couple of days there where we just got pizza and movies and we put the game on pause, and we had so much fun during that time as well. And you don't get to see any of that, unfortunately, as well. But it was just surreal, the whole thing.
Also, I think what was really interesting was doing a little bit of research. Some people were saying that maybe the COVID-19 lockdown might have been one of the reasons as to why your time in the house came to an end. How did it affect your game plan, seeing as that the cameras were shut down for 24 hours?
It affected my game plan because I was so focused. I was in the game, and then we had 2 days off or something like that. We were having so much fun then that I don't think I clicked back into the game, and I sort of started to talk to Kieran about strategy, and I was just started openly talking about it, and everybody goes, "Oh, that guy's playing," and as soon as you get caught playing, you get the flick. So I sort of tripped over my own shoelaces there towards the end.
You know, interestingly enough, from my own experience of being on Big Brother, friendships inside the house don't necessarily always translate into being friendships on the outside world. Can you tell us, I mean, we've had reports that people have been leaving the group chat, you know, that you were all a part of. Who are the people that you've found that you've reached out to the most since the show was over?
I think with the friend group that I have, we all have that sort of same thing in common, that we don't take ourselves too seriously. And, you know, we can sort of joke around and, you know, blow each other in the back and whatnot. And it's just that sort of friend group that you have, like Casey, Dan, Matt, Ian. Shane's a great guy. I know Chad's a great guy, as much as people want to blow that up. But yeah, everybody just doesn't take themselves too seriously. And I think some of those bigger personalities sort of want to cause stuff out of nothing, really. You know, it's a game. It happened. Close the book on it.
Well, let's talk about this, because, do you know, I want to talk about something with you, and it's a bit of an elephant in the room. So many times do we hear people using the word bullying or tactics where you're ganging up on someone. But when it comes to Big Brother and the game is to win $250,000, what is the relationship between, say, bullying or just playing straight Big Brother tactics?
Yeah, look, bullying comes into it when you start demoralizing the person's actual character. You know,
which wasn't happening.
You know, which wasn't happening too much from what I saw. But yeah, there's a fine line that you've got to work you, and you can say, look, I don't believe in their game, or you can start saying, oh, that person's an idiot, like, or that person's dumb and stuff like that. You can't go around saying that, because I feel like that is bullying. And then, you know, if you want to talk bad about their game, just be like, look, they're not playing a bad game. But if you want to call someone dumb, then I think that's you're walking a fine line there, unfortunately. And because it's all out there on the TV, you're doing it on live air, so you've just got to be careful. You've really got to be careful, and especially these days, bullying is a big problem, and it can get blown out of proportion on these type of TV shows. So, got to watch yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Would you know what I also, just before I finish up, I want to say, when the promos came out and I got my first glimpse of you, you look so much like Ryan Gins, the winner of 2014. I was like, oh, here we go. Another attractive blonde is going to win the show. Did you notice the similarities? Did you feel the similarities, you know, with Ryan Gins?
Yeah, well, it was sort of that like laid back thing, and everybody's like, oh, Ryan Gins, and then we got Jack Vidgen, and then we just got that blonde guy in the back, and then we got Justin Bieber, and then we got Wallpaper for a while, and it's just, there's a couple of names that came flying up, but I definitely see the similarities with Ryan Gins. I think it's yeah, but that's for the old Big Brother. That's the old Big Brother. That sort of personality works for the old Big Brother, I think. This one's a bit more cutthroat, and I think Ryan Gins or someone like myself who's a bit more relaxed.
Yeah,
should go back to the old Big Brother. This one's a bit intense.
Well, maybe we could do that, but at this particular point, people are applying for the show. What is your tip on how to get picked to be on Big Brother 2021?
Obviously, you know, you're going to go with be yourself. Obviously, that one, you're going to hear that one 1,000 times, but have your opinion and stand by it. I think that's one of the main ones. You know, don't just float with what everybody else is saying. If you've got a personality, show it the way you do, because you're going to be in there for 30 days. If you're acting or whatnot, you're going to, you know, you're going to drop it. It's 30 days, and people are going to see straight through it. So be yourself and have an opinion, and stand for who you are, I guess. I think that's probably the best.
Well, you were yourself, and I applaud you for that. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. X marks the spot for lots of people, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with you next.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for having me on the show, and yeah, enjoy the show, and woohoo.
It's the random life shot of the day. Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the random life shot of the day.
Today we're taking you to Japan, where it's a very famous temple, actually, where it's going to be a high of 26 degrees and a low of 22, and it's raining. So, yes, apparently very, very famous temple. I can't say I've ever heard of it or know of it, but the lovely Amanda knows of it. So let's get to the feedback coming through to the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. And Terry says, pretty cool mugs. So, thank you, Terry. We like
Thanks.
our Ben, Rob and Robbo mugs. Andrew says, Robbo, in a wealthy suburb, this is about the coronavirus lockdown, 3,000 people aren't sharing facilities like common areas, laundries and lifts. How can the virus be contained if it's basically impossible to socially distance? That's a very good point. Aaron says, is it a BRR show first as Ben and Rob agree on something with the first segment on the Victorian coronavirus? Shocked. Penny says, it's not just a photo in a meet and greet, it's a very different setting. Yes, that's in regards to Prince Andrew and the photos he's had taken with some of the people involved in the Jeffrey Epstein case, and that is absolutely true. Jamie says, Kanye for president really sums up 2020. Tim, talking about Superman memorabilia, says it would carry the Superman curse too. And that is true. There is a thing known as the Superman curse where everyone involved in Superman has died, or the actors who have played Superman. The first TV Superman jumped out of a window because he believed he could fly. And Nicole says, in regards to our Xavier interview, he looks like he's sitting in the toilet.
That's what I thought. I thought that. I love Nicole. I spent a lot of time with Nicole at her house with Studio 10. It literally looked like he was in the toilet. Like,
Well,
terrible. Like, is that what he thinks
wasn't.
of our show?
All right. You know
don't
what?
know that.
Rather than talking about the toilet, there's so much to talk about in the world of TV. And for that, we bring in our good friend Steve Mogg. Hello, Mogg.
Toilets.
Hello, Mulkey.
Jumping out of buildings. What is going on this show?
We have it everywhere. Mogg, talk to me. There's some big breaking news today about the fact Pauline Hanson has been dropped from the Today Show.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, Pauline Hanson said something very Pauline Hanson would say, and everyone got upset about it. Consequently, the Today Show, through news director Darren Wick, have come out and said that Pauline Hanson will no longer be a regular contributor. If you missed it this morning, and good luck to you if you did, here's what she said.
And you just think of the anguish a lot of those people are feeling because some of them haven't eaten since Saturday, Pauline.
Oh, come on, Ellie. We've seen food being delivered there. The fact is that a lot of them are
There are
drug addicts
3,000
as
people,
well.
Pauline.
They've actually medication. They're getting their medication. They're alcoholics, so they're being looked after that way. They're actually getting paid extra money. Why are they getting paid extra money? For what? They're not leaving the premises. A lot of these people are from non-English speaking backgrounds. Probably English is their second language, who haven't adhered to the rules of social distancing. They all use a lot of the same laundry. So the fact is, you've got to look at why they're in that situation. Why has the government gone to this high-rise building and shut it down? Possibly because a lot of these people weren't doing the right thing.
Look, she might have had a point about people doing the right thing, but the fact is she's called them alcoholics, she's called them drug users. You know, like, the accusations are pretty outrageous. Darren Wick has said, Darren Wick is the head of news and current affairs at Channel 9. He says, we don't shy away from diverse opinions and robust debate on the Today Show, but this morning's accusations from Pauline Hanson were ill-informed and divisive. At a time of uncertainty in this national and global health crisis, Australians have to be united and supportive of one another. We need to get through this together. It's interesting though, Mulk. Sunrise dropped her for the same thing. Today quickly picked her up. You know, should she have a place on Australian television?
This is one of our elected officials, Rob.
So yes,
the
answer is yes.
My personal opinion is absolutely not. I don't think she should be an elected official. I don't think that her views are reflective of the Australian people. We see that in the nature of the motions that she brings and the defeat that they face every time when she brings them in the federal parliament.
This woman, Mo, can I just quickly say to you, this woman is so bizarre. I don't understand it, but we celebrate her. We've given her a platform. The woman got to go on Dancing with the Stars after she turned up as a racist the day one. You know, like, this woman's been on Australian television and people love her. I just want to quickly say, I went to Central Queensland, did breakfast radio for 3 years, and when I got there, I was like, I know what to say when it comes to breakfast radio. I understand public opinion. Pauline Hanson's a crazy person. Do you know how many people came for me? So many people. She has so much support in Queensland in particular, and there are a lot of uneducated people that believe the exact same thing that Pauline Hanson believes. So look, I would say, and I've interviewed her twice, I genuinely think she doesn't even believe half the stuff that comes out of her mouth, but she understands how to resonate with an audience.
But she says it, and she's got to be held responsible. That's not a get out of jail free card. I say things I don't believe in. I don't think that's fair at all. And I understand what you're saying and making that point, Ben, but she can't use that as a get out of jail free. Mark, we are quickly running out of time. Poe is standing by. Talk to me about the fact Tracy Grimshaw is being sued.
Yeah, this is an interesting story. Tracy Grimshaw and A Current Affair are being sued. So 9 are being sued by Dr. John Hewson, former leader of the Liberal Party, and a man who is the director of a company that owns a storage unit, a storage complex where some people came on A Current Affair and said that we were told this and told about insurance and all of our stuff got ruined and we're saying it's their fault. And he's saying that both Tracy and A Current Affair misrepresented the truth to a point where it's defamatory. Look, that's how the law works, right?
Rob, we can't hear you, unfortunately.
It's so
What's
great
interesting
what he's
about
saying,
this, Mulk, is it's not just Tracy it's not just Channel 9 being sued, it's
Yes.
Tracy personally.
That's right. The fact that she's been named as one of the people in the claim from Dr. Hewson is interesting because it's now stepping beyond just the usual protection of the network and being able to say, well, she's the host, but it's the show. In this, they're claiming that Tracy Grimshaw, as the host, were a part of that. And so there's a real personal angle to this. I don't believe there's anything malicious in the personal nature of it. Rather, it's just this is how Dr. Hewson and his lawyers feel it's best to approach.
Interesting times. Mulk, thank you as always. We appreciate your time today. We'll see you next Monday.
Oh, look,
thanks,
probably.
Mulk.
All right, now here's Robbo.
Rob, thank you very much. Well, when you think of MasterChef, there is one person that comes to mind. Last night, however, in a shock elimination, we said goodbye to her. It is, of course, legend of the kitchen, Poe. Oh, I don't know if my heart can take. Let's revisit the moment that floored and broke Australia's heart.
Unfortunately, you're going home.
It's been everything that I wanted it to be. I'm a risk taker, and that's what happened today, you know. I met my demise finally.
Oh, bloody hell. I really don't think that my heart can take any more of this. I can't watch that again, but thank goodness we have got MasterChef royalty here. We are so lucky to have Poe on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. Poe, welcome.
Oh, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, first of all, we've just got to compliment you on your wonderful jumper there. That is a wonderful
thank
jumper.
you. You look like a little baby chicken.
Very talented baby chicken, we'll say that. Now, let's get into what happened last night. It's still very painful for everyone, especially for you, I think. But your choice to risk it all with a redemption cook was ultimately your downfall. Do you regret the decision you made?
At the time, I did. But I think now that I've been back into the real world, I kind of just feel like it was always going to happen because I'm just such a ball of chaos. I am a big risk taker. And for me, it's always been about going on every part of that journey, which is the lows, the highs. You know, you can't just cherry pick what you want out of it, you know. That's part of the whole experience. So when I look at it like that, I'm just grateful that I got to do it again. It was absolutely magical.
We were so very grateful to have you back on the show. Now, we are used to a stressful cook in the kitchen with you, but last night was a little different. We saw a more defeated side of you. Let's have a look at that.
What's going on?
What's wrong? What's wrong, Poe? I'm actually feeling really, really full of doubt right now. I'm just wondering whether I should do something Asian. Oh, Poe. I don't know. I don't know how I feel right now. I'm just really confused and I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, more heartbreak. I just want to see Poe back in the kitchen, for goodness sake. Now, Poe, tell me, how hard is it to bounce back from that doubt and just get the cook done?
It was hard. I think I was really exhausted. Your brain's just constantly in knots, and having run off adrenaline for so many months, I think I was just suffering from a bit of, fatigue as well. Like, because you overthink, and I was on a really good one with the Asian dishes, and I'm like, why am I doing Italian? It's just, it's really easy to get to that place. Like, you really have to wrangle your psychology. But I felt like I felt like cement that day.
Well, there was a lot of, a commentary online about the music. It felt like we were watching a bit of a war montage. It was like Saving Private Ryan, but it was Saving Private Poe. Have you seen some of this reaction to the music last night?
Yeah, even I noticed it. I was like, whoa. It was like, at the beginning, I was like, the orcs are coming.
yeah, that's right. You're in a battle, a very big battle. Let's actually take a look at that wonderful music.
Come on, Poe.
Yeah, I better just get the truffles on.
Here we go, gang. 10, 9, 8, 7.
I wasn't talking to you now. I wasn't sure if you survived that war montage there. Poe, really quickly, having the judges yell at you like that, is that helpful?
No, it's not helpful at all. But you do learn to block it out. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm pretty good at being tunnel vision. I'm good at that, too good at it.
Now, it has been 11 years since you were last in the kitchen. How have you seen cooking evolve since then?
Oh my gosh, it's gone crazy. I mean, people are just cooking mad now. And I remember the first challenge that we had, I think we had a pasta challenge in season 1. And everyone was feeling the effect. The homeware stores were like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy! Haven't sold a pasta maker we sell 2 a year, and now 25 people came in a week and asked for one." So it's very, very palpable. And things parents telling me the phrase "plate up" is become a household kind of concept. And just little things, when you go into the baking section, you find things like liquid glucose and cocoa nibs and piping bags, stuff that you just never would see before. And the unsalted butter section just being huge. With that one, everyone used to go, what's unsalted butter? What do you use it for? I remember back in the day. So everyone is just so much more food savvy. Everyone's interested in the provenance, where the food comes from. So there's a lot of that awareness now.
And I think you should be very proud that you've been part of that, a very big part of that movement. Do you feel special to be part of that?
Absolutely. I mean, I was never going to not do this. When I first got approached to do it, I know that there were quite a few contestants that either chose not to or were umming and ahhing about it. But for me, I was just like, I'm in. I've been dreaming of this moment. I was just curious to see how I'd fare a second time round with a lot more experience and wisdom under my belt. And it made no difference. I'm still the spanner that I was.
Which we love, Poe. We love. Now, Poe, I want to ask you, would you have liked to have been a judge on the show?
You know what? I wouldn't. I feel like I'm not good. I just don't think I'm good in that situation. I need to be free range. I feel like you need to be quite composed, and I'm the opposite of composed.
That's a very good question, a very good answer.
A bit of a loose cannon.
Maybe that's what we need, though, on those judging panels. I think a loose cannon is always wonderful. Now, Poe, obviously you're going to be doing a lot of interviews. You've done a lot of interviews in the past. This is going to be the most important question anyone has ever asked you. What's for your tea tonight, Poe?
What am I having for tea tonight?
Yes, please.
Okay, our mum's just brought around some it's kind of, I chuck everything in dish. It's one of my favourite dishes made with mustard greens and tamarind and belacan. It's called shinchoy, which translates to sour vegetables. That sounds delicious. Not. And it's spicy, sour, and there's a pork hock in it, so it's really smoky and porky. It's really delicious, and you eat it with noodles. That's what I'm going to have tonight.
Oh, all right. Well, what, 7:30? Should I turn up at that time? Is that fine? Do you
Yes, sure.
Just-
Are you into like
Yeah.
Asian funk? It's a bit funky.
I love Asian funk. My middle name is Asian Funk. I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. I can't wait. All right, I'll bring a bottle of wine as well. Poe, this has been such a treat for us. Thank you so much for making time to be on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show.
Oh, it's been a treat for me. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate the support. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Poe. That was Poe. We had to say goodbye to MasterChef royalty last night, but the saga continues. And if the music from last night is anything to go by, it's going to be a battle to end all battles. MasterChef Australia continues tonight at 7:30 on 10 and win. Robert?
Thank you, David. That brings us to the end of the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. We are almost on time. Tika is standing by with all the latest news. David and Ben, there's some weird noise coming through. But anyway, what a way to end. Thank
What
you
is
very
that
much.
noise?
David, is that you?
Some weird breathing.
No, I can't hear anything.
Blink if you're not okay.
We'll see you tomorrow on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. What was that?
It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo show.